Welcome to the Spawn Chunks, episode number 2 for Monday, August 13th, 2018. My name is Joel Duggan, and joining me, as always, is Pixlriffs, but his friends call him Johnny. Welcome, sir.
Hello, welcome. Yes, I'm drinking tea out of a Ravenclaw mug today, so 10 points to various Hogwarts houses.
I have never taken the time to take those like online tests and figure out what house that I'm just assuming I would be Gryffindor just because I'm a kind of a goody. So I guess that's probably where I would end up.
Assigned. We found out today, folks, that Joel self-identifies as a Gryffindor. So anyway, this is not a podcast about Harry Potter. This is not the Harry podcast. This is Minecraft. Hello, welcome to the Spawn Chunks. How's your Minecraft life, Joel? What you up to?
Well, I unfortunately did not get to play Minecraft as much on the weekend as I wanted to. I got some time in the game, but most of it was actually spending time trying to sort out data packs and installing data packs on the server and trying to figure out how they work. Yeah, which I do find very satisfying. Like I would say the last month or so, I've split my time quite evenly between creating resource packs and trying to figure out how things work and looking into data packs and quite enjoying the process, especially because I'm learning a little bit of Java code, that kind of stuff. However, I only had about a 50% success rate of some of the data packs this weekend. Now, a lot of them were from Hermitcraft, and there was a disclaimer in the download saying like, look, some of these aren't done. There's going to be some bugs. We're aware of them, etc. Yeah. So I couldn't get the single player sleep to work. The rotation wrench wasn't working. There's a bunch of different things I tried. But ultimately what it led me to thinking is that we should put a little notch in our notes to say we should do an episode in the future about data packs and maybe dive a little bit more into them, because there's no way I could even start to talk about them now. The one thing that I will mention, I find the code for Minecraft very confusing. I mean, I do some web development. I know HTML and CSS a little bit, and I'm learning Java. And while they're complicated, I understand the, I guess, format of the coding languages. I do not understand Minecraft code. Like it is nonsensical. Could you make it more complicated, especially because you're asking and giving players the opportunity to put it in? Like you would think it would just make more sense.
Yeah, it's funny too, because Minecraft has had a reputation for the longest time for being coded by an amateur. When Notch created the game, he didn't really know much about what he was doing. He was just kind of muddling through and making stuff up as he went. And so all of the work that's gone into recent technical updates has reportedly been to de-spaghettify the code and kind of delineate everything a little bit more precisely. So the fact that you're still kind of having trouble understanding what they're putting down is interesting to me. And as somebody who's not really looked much into the technical side, I don't do any coding, I don't do any modding. I barely worked out how to understand the kind of data pack stuff that I was putting onto my own Patreon server this weekend. So yeah, I've never really dabbled in that side of thing at all. But I always thought that when they were working to clarify the code a little bit more, that would make it more accessible to people. And maybe if somebody's an experienced Java modder or anything like that, then maybe they'd have a different experience. But if it's not super accessible to you at the start, then I wonder if there's any more work to be done in that department. Yeah,
it's an odd thing. And if anybody listening has experience with modding, specifically with the Minecraft code, I've got some pretty good resources on JavaScript for data packs and resource packs and things like that. But if you have some experience in Minecraft code and explaining how it works, then shoot us a line, thespawnchunks@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you, and we can maybe roll it into a future episode.
Absolutely.
That's basically what my weekend was like. Johnny, what were you up to in Minecraft?
So this week I have been kind of as a follow-up to what we were discussing on the last episode, I've been making a squid farm to the specification that they're going to need in Minecraft 1.13.1. So last week we talked about having squid farms that are based in river biomes, because squid can't just spawn in any old pocket of water when the next Minecraft update rolls around. And we don't know when exactly that's going to be, so I've actually been eliminating the water from around the area as well, just so it works sort of in the meantime. But I found a very nice landlocked portion of river with a nice kind of curve in it that you can probably get roughly an equivalent distance from all of the blocks of water that are part of the river biome, and then you maximize the amount of area that squids will spawn and then still be able to move. Because mob AI works in a certain way where it will spawn within a certain radius, but outside of, I think, 32 blocks or so, mobs kind of freeze in place because the game realizes that you're not close enough to them to need them to move around, really. So they just kind of become background detail. If you've ever spotted a squid in the distance in the ocean that just seems to be kind of spinning in place, then that is why that happens. So I've been working on drying out this river biome, essentially, and figuring out which blocks actually count as a river, because the way Minecraft terrain blends together, there's actually a substantial portion of the riverbank on either side that still counts as like the birch forest on one side and then spruce forest on the other. So it's kind of interesting that we had like only a few blocks of river in the middle that technically counted as the spawnable space. One of the other things I did this week was to create a video advertising this show, actually.
Nice.
Which, I'm really, really thankful for, and so many people kind of responded well to that and were giving us some great feedback. Like I had people in the comments of that on Twitter, on my Twitch stream over the weekend as well, say that they'd listened to the show already and really enjoyed it. So thanks to you guys for that. It's also been really great to see a couple of people starting to roll in on Patreon as well. And we have our Patreon Discord server set up so we can chat to people directly in there. And we'll have a little plug for the actual links for that and stuff at the end of the show if you guys are interested in supporting us. But aside from that, I done a giant build this week that is not quite finished now. It's about 3/4 of the way done. I'm building a sort of warehouse on my island that is going to be a cactus farm and various other farms. So that's the big.
I caught that. I caught the DV video. I think it was last night, and I was thinking to myself, like, he's making a cactus farm. That is a ginormous cactus farm. And as soon as I thought that, you finished the video by saying, like, look, this is going to have multiple floors. I'm going to be able to put all kinds of different things in here. But I was just in my head, it was like, holy overkill.
Yeah, it's
like in a funny way.
In creative, it started out kind of small, but the door design I had was like 8 blocks wide. And so I was like, okay, well, if I build anything to the scale of this, then it's either going to look like a fire station where just the whole front of the building opens up, or or I need to go bigger. And at that point, I was like, it's gotten away from me a little bit. I've overshot what I expected to build for just a cactus farm. So yeah, that's going to be basically my all the farms go in here building, I think, eventually.
Oh, cool. And that'll help you in terms of like collecting everything, and you can just drop everything into one simple, hopper or water stream and then sort it later somewhere else, right?
And having a base where I'm working around there constantly building stuff, the farms are always going to be loaded in, so I'm always going to have production happening there, which is kind of the thing that I've not done in previous seasons. I've always built stuff and then walked away from it and then come back and gone, why have I only got like 15 sugarcane in this? Surely there should be more. So that's
because you get your farms
goal.
They're all spread out all over the build or all over the zone that you're building in. I've done that in a I guess a similar way on the Citadel, where we've spread the farms out so that everything is all not lumped into one spot, but we're also the houses that people spend a lot of time in are in different spots in the server. So like we put the squid farm close to Mattcast's house because when Mattcast is online, he's going to load the squid farm. And then I've got, I think, like pumpkins and sugarcane and stuff by me. So when I'm online doing stuff in my little cabin, I'm usually loading some of the other farms. So ultimately, some of the farms are being loaded at some point by somebody.
Yeah.
It's been an interesting experiment because there are some things that we put just a little bit too far away, and it's like, oh, darn it. I should have put that somewhere else.
And it's I think a symptom of the previous server we had, because we had an iron farm and stuff in the spawn chunks, we didn't really want to build anything else around there because the iron farm looked kind of ugly, and I think we all wanted to move away, and the spawn was actually in a desert biome, so not the friendliest environment to start building in the first place, whereas this one, we're actually building stuff around spawn, so if people start farms there, they will stay loaded even when people aren't on the server. So that's actually going to be kind of useful going forward. But yeah, my island is somewhere I plan to work pretty much constantly, so it's always going to be there.
Very, very cool. Well, you mentioned 1.13.1, and we actually have a new snapshot that came out since the last time we recorded, and that's Minecraft Snapshot 18W32A. Complicated names. I've always thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, it's the year first, and then it's week 32, and then the A, B, C, and so forth is like the A, B, and C snapshot is like the the kind of how they organize how many snapshots have come out that week. I think it's gotten as far as like it being 16F or something before, so they had to iterate like 6 different times in a week to get something that was stable. It was pretty fun. It was a fun week for the devs, cool. I'm sure.
I didn't know. I mean, I knew it would have made sense somewheres, but I didn't realize that that's actually how it panned out. Very cool. So we'll have a link to that. It's up on Minecraft.net, pretty easy to find. And if you want to look through the full list of things that they've changed, you can go ahead and do that. The only things that really stood out to me, they added dead coral. So not coral fans, those were already there. Not coral blocks, those were already there. But the coral plant itself, those are now they can be dead coral. I don't exactly know. I mean, it makes sense in terms of just crossing your T's and dotting your I's. But what would be the build use of dead coral?
I don't really know. Like it's something that I've seen people come up with interesting designs with the fans. Like I saw some people early on when they introduced kind of the dead stuff, placing them down on the ground as almost like birds' nests, and then because you can place item frames on the floor now, you put an item frame down, you put like a bone block or an actual egg item in the frame, and it looks like a bird's nest, and it's kind of adorable. Yeah. But then, I haven't really done enough experimentation with the coral plants themselves, the actual sort of entity organisms rather than the blocks. That I don't know what I would use them for. We'll find out, I guess.
I mean, I'm sure that the Minecraft community will make quick use of them. I saw another use for dead coral fans on the Minecraft Reddit, and it was frosty flowers. So you put them down in a snowy biome, and they look like frozen or dead plants.
Yes, that would be really cool. I've never really built in a snow biome before. I haven't done much building there. I did a tiny amount on a single-player world back in the day, but it would be nice to revisit that. I feel like they are kind of underused just because the snow always covers your builds, so you don't really you have to build with that effect in mind. But and
I can't think of which coral it would be. Maybe the fire coral, but one of them is very kind of tree or plant like looking. Most of them look very distinctly like underwater coral, like they're tubey or they look like a brain coral. Looks very much like a ball.
Yeah, they're more kind of bubbly and stuff.
But some of the ones that have more branches, we'll say, might actually be able to work as like a dead bush or a frozen bush or an out of season bush or something in a frozen biome. But I'll have to check it out when I get in there.
Worth a try.
The other thing that I noticed was it's note MC 135387, and his chunks are not unforced until a player loads it. And I'm kind of inferring a little bit, but I think that might be a big deal for servers that are lagged or plagued with lag or lagged with plague, I guess.
so chunk forcing and unforcing is a concept they kind of added in the previous snapshot, which we didn't really go into, but I was talking earlier about the spawn chunks always being loaded on a server so that you can have an iron farm that is constantly running. Forcing a chunk basically is a chunk loading thing that applies anywhere outside of the spawn chunks. It's something you can only do with commands or command blocks, and it essentially allows you to suspend that chunk in perpetuity. So you can actually have that one loaded even if nobody is currently occupying it. And this is something that modded players have always come up with a solution for, because they have these farms that are constantly running, or machines that will break if they're not staying loaded in. There's stuff like nuclear reactors that will just close down and explode if for whatever reason the player isn't around or something like that. So there can be uses for that in modded, and in modded there are chunk loading tricks or chunk loading items even that actually keep that coded in so that you can always have that area loaded. So now they're adding a feature that lets you do that in vanilla Minecraft. So in theory, you could sort of set a constantly loaded chunk yourself on a server and have that be the designated farming district so that you don't have to do all of your farming in the spawn chunks, potentially. It's something I can see the technical players making a great deal of use of, and the average player will probably not care.
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense. For example, when you mentioned earlier that the spawn chunks, I think you said on season 4 of Decidedly Vanilla, it was in a desert.
Yeah.
So it was really not desirable. So you guys as a community could decide, okay, well, look, this is the spawn chunks. And while technically this is where all the stuff would constantly run, let's make our own set of spawn chunks somewhere's a little bit more desirable. And we'll use that as the area for iron farms and community things and stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So, other news this week, Optifine 1.13 got an alpha release, and then the website went down. So, as of the time of the recording, Optifine.net is currently returning an error message, and the page won't load. I wonder if this is just traffic, because it immediately gets posted on the Minecraft subreddit whenever an Optifine update comes out. And this is a very early alpha release. It's a preview version. It's not even available on the main downloads page. You have to go to a separate page to kind of acknowledge that this is a preview version. But a bunch of us were able to download it before the website went down, myself included. I don't know if you said you'd managed to snag a copy as well.
I snagged a copy on the weekend. I spent most of my time doing the data pack stuff, so I was able to pop in before the show for about 20 minutes and kind of poke around. I didn't really mess with any settings. Two things that I noticed were that my previous settings did not roll forward.
Uh-huh.
So, for example, my cloud height is still default. I would have to go back and change that. That could, again, this is all pre-alpha stuff, so like it could be fixed when they finally release it. And the only other thing that I noticed was my grass texture. So not the grass block, but the grass plant texture was not there. It was a green. It was a green splotch. So I immediately thought, all right, well, I can't play with Optifine right now, and that's fine. And it could be something in a setting, but I didn't have time to drill into it.
Yeah.
But it seemed to be okay. Like it was stable. Like I was running around fine.
Yes, and I had a very stable experience of mine. And obviously, PC hardware varies. You're on a Mac, and there's all sorts of variables to take into account here.
Yes.
But yeah, I've had no problems with it so far. I haven't gotten the performance boost that I expected to get from Optifine, but I probably chalk that up to 1.13 just still being a little bit more complex than the previous Minecraft updates. And maybe the Optifine team hasn't like drilled down into the stuff that is causing lag for 1.13 players, things like water updates and stuff like that really tank your frame rate if you're very close to an ocean. The one amusing bug that I have found is that every time I spawn in, my view is upside down. It is vertically flipped, and so I'm always. And there's a joke in the Minecraft community in general that one of the developers, Dinnerbone, has like an upside down skin, and his profile picture on Twitter is upside down, and so there's all this kind of upside down stuff. If you name tag a mob Dinnerbone in the game, it will flip the mob upside down, and so I just logged in and was like, is this what Dinnerbone sees all the time with my flipped up view? But thankfully, I actually read in the thread on the Minecraft subreddit when Optifine was released that other people had been having this problem. And the solution is just to press F4, just the key F4 on its own. And that actually manually flips your display in Minecraft. Right. So yeah, that's an odd feature. But aside from that, perfectly fine. I've had really no problems with it. I've been able to enable my custom sky again and found out that the sky above Mushroom Islands is yellow, so no thank you. I'm turning that back off. I was also able to run shaders, which I think is probably the feature, aside from performance boost, that people most look forward to Optifine for, is the ability to plug some actual lighting engines into Minecraft and get all those gorgeous kind of sun rays and shadows and everything. And I did that for a time lapse in my video. I don't play with shaders on a lot of the time because my computer is kind of a budget rig and I don't want to overheat my graphics card and get terrible frame rate. But it's nice to know that stuff is definitely in the pipeline, the reusable versions of it coming out, and hopefully, fingers crossed, they should release it hopefully before Mojang releases Minecraft 1.13.1 and then makes the 1.13 version of Optifine obsolete because they will probably, like we said last week, they will probably be quicker to update once it's just like the 0.1 updates, but still it's going to take a little bit of time for them to get it out there. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we can play with it for a little while before we need to roll on to the next set of features.
I had been playing with Optifine for so long that when 1.13 came out and was playing just a vanilla game, I forgot that shaders were part of Optifine. I thought they were natively something you could do in Minecraft. I was like, oh, right. There's so much that Optifine allows you to do. I don't necessarily see a frame rate boost. I have a fairly new computer, so that's probably why. And also, like you said, Mac versus PC. But what I just find that the customizable things like, fog distance and cloud height, and there's just a lot of little visual tweaks that I find that you can just kind of make Minecraft kind of work the way that you want it to. And I also, one of the texture, I don't know whether it's in Optifine or whether it's part of my part of my the shader packs I have. I think it's just part of Optifine, but I really enjoy connected grass texture sides.
Yeah.
So things like grass, path block, my glass texture pack relies heavily on Optifine for being connected.
Yes, connected
And
textures are pretty.
yeah, and I find I miss those quite a bit. You know, like I really like looking at the side of a grassy hill and having it all be grass as opposed to all the dirt kind of block sticking out.
Yeah.
So, and I just find it gives you a little bit more control as you're building and landscaping and stuff.
Yeah, it definitely allows you to kind of have Minecraft the way you want it a little bit more as well. I think it is even possible to have like more connected textures as part of vanilla resource packs now, but I think there are still certain things that have to be enabled through mods like Optifine. Thinking of having Minecraft the way you want it and do things the way you want it, there was one other thing I wanted to bring up right here at the top of the show with the news, is that a creation of sorts. A guy called Plagiatus, who I think is probably known to some people for creating the Hardcore Hermits Season 2 data pack. And he's kind of dabbled in the more creative kind of command blocky side of Minecraft for a while. But yeah, he created the sort of find every item and like you get an advancement for every item you submit to this hopper game mode that they used in Hardcore Hermits. He created a Minecraft contraption that will help you solve Sudoku puzzles, which is pretty incredible as far as I'm concerned. It's one of those things that you see people doing stuff with Minecraft and you're like, I never thought to use this game for that. And the same thing is true of that. There was a guy a while ago who recreated the entirety of Pokemon Red just using like a texture pack and items with different damage values displaying different textures, and he was able to completely recreate a Game Boy game in Minecraft. But this was a fantastic contraption that you essentially put in blocks with the numbers of all of your different kind of Sudoku solutions. You put them in the right spaces, and then you press a button on a command block, and then an armor stand whizzes around for a little while. There's like a video of him showing how it functions. An armor stand whizzes around, basically kind of calculating where all of the rest of the numbers should go, and then it completes the puzzle for you. and whether or not that is something you want to do, because I imagine, Sudoku people do it for the test of their own brain, it's still quite a technical feat for somebody to have accomplished that kind of,
in Minecraft.
Yeah, exactly.
It would be a technical feat to write a computer program that does it. It's something completely different to make Minecraft do it for you.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because Minecraft essentially becomes the GUI, right?
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing. It's strange to me that Minecraft almost becomes like a game development platform to people who are familiar with this kind of way of doing things. Like there's a game in and of itself in survival, or you build stuff in creative, but then there's like almost an offshoot of the creative side of things, which is just, what can I make this game do that you would not expect? I mean, it's gone every time I think about stuff like this, it's all the way back to early redstone computers where people, set up all of these redstone torches and wire, and then they're like, hey, I've created a computer with, 2 bits worth of RAM, and it'll store things and it'll calculate stuff for you. And you go, how are you people doing this? Even without command blocks at that time as well. So it's crazy.
I find it really fascinating, and I would love, like, I've not yet tried anything, and I don't know why. It's probably just a time limitation thing, but I see a lot of map downloads and adventure things that you can do in Minecraft. I mean, these are all things that are made by players in the community, and they're just taking advantage of the under the hood features that Minecraft allows you access to, and to create custom things, where you what was the thing that I was watching you play a little while ago on YouTube? It was about dwarven mining or something like that.
Yeah, Dwarven Mining Company. That's a kind of custom adventure map that's on the Minecraft marketplace right now.
Blew my mind.
Yeah.
Like it absolutely blew my mind. Like just the level of detail and the amount of control
and the voice acting, and there's so much stuff they can do with it. And retexturing stuff alone is guaranteed to make things look a little bit different to your average Minecraft experience. But then
Exactly.
yeah, the level of customization. And people wonder why we're starting a podcast about Minecraft. There's just so much here to talk about
Right.
that
Yeah.
I'm sure in future episodes we will get into stuff like customization. Like you wanted to do a show about data packs. I think we can do a show about resource packs. We can do a show about,
Absolutely.
the lighter and heavier sides of Minecraft modding. We've got a lot to cover, but I think we'd probably better leave that behind us and move on to our discussion topic, because we're in danger of just rambling about stuff we find cool for this long.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, you get together with a bunch of people that play Minecraft, and very quickly the conversation will go to Minecraft heavy. I remember my birthday party. I had a bunch of people over, most of whom actually were local and play on the Citadel with me. So I'm lucky that a good chunk of the people that play, wow, that was a great pun, play on the server are actually local here in Dartmouth, Halifax. So I was able to meet them and have them hang out in person. And very quickly, the entire party conversation went to Minecraft.
Yeah.
And there's a couple people that were outside of that group that were looking at all of us like, it sounds really cool, but I've got no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it tends to get you get lost in the jargon a little bit sometimes when you're around people.
So I was talking to a friend this weekend and asked them if they had played, because they're into Pokemon Go, and I thought, if you're into Pokemon Go, you might like Minecraft. And it something that you had kind of wrote in the notes when we were thinking about what to do for episode 2 was, how did you and I get into Minecraft? And that it kind of got me thinking, because I was trying to explain to Jen, like, well, what is it, and how could you start, and where to even start. And I'm on the other side now. I've been playing heavily for a year. So how did you really get your feet wet with Minecraft?
It was an interesting one for me, because I'd always admired Minecraft from a distance, is the way I tend to put it. Because at the time, it was 2014, I guess. I was working at Disney. I used to work for the online interactive department for Disney, actually doing email support and online moderation for the Club Penguin virtual world. Which,
cool.
I have a lot of stories that I could get into, but I won't, because this is a podcast about Minecraft. So we regularly got emails from parents kind of cancelling kids' Club Penguin membership and saying, oh, he's a little bit older now, he's moved on to playing Minecraft. And so we were like, okay, Minecraft is kind of like a competitor, and it's like a game that kids tend to play when they get a little bit older. They age out of playing the kind of little kids games and they move on to something big and creative. And I'd always known Minecraft was just this huge phenomenon. I'd seen the toys in the shops and so forth, but I hadn't ever played it myself. And at the time, I didn't really own a current games console or a PC that could play games. I've been a Mac user since I was in university, and Macs always had that reputation for not really playing games, so I didn't really pick up any games around that time. But I picked up watching Minecraft on YouTube. A lot of the gaming I was doing at the time was kind of vicariously through other people. So I was watching gangs like Achievement Hunter and people who make kind of gaming-based videos. And at the time, that whole scene was not in its infancy, but it was still fairly niche. It wasn't like the phenomenon where people are selling out arena tours of them just going around and playing video games in front of a crowd. But I started picking up on people like Achievement Hunter playing Minecraft, and the Yogscast, who were, back in the day, such a big collective of Minecraft players, mostly modded Minecraft players after a while, but they have this one vanilla series where they started out as like a fairly dry Let's Play, and then they got a bunch of their friends to basically act as characters in the game, and it's the two of them running around, and the characters are all just typing stuff in the chat like it's lines from a play, and they're kind of improvising stuff of it as they go along, but they weave this whole story. And I watched sections of this and some other people just playing the game legitimately for the game that it was, dabbling with mods and stuff like that. And Yogscast and Achievement Hunter are both very much not family friendly. Like, they swear a lot. A lot of the stuff they talk about gets a little bit adult and graphic, but they're always having so much fun. And as an adult who doesn't mind content with a little bit of swearing in it, they managed to convince me that the game wasn't just for the kids that I'd been reading about in these emails from parents. It was a game that basically anybody could dip into, and it was also a very creative game. You've got people basically using it as a storytelling platform. You've got people just creating funny little mini games for them to play. And my brother-in-law, who is still playing Minecraft, his name is Kane83 on the Decidedly Vanilla server. His real life name is Rob. And he just started playing with his friend Chris. And he'd started up his own YouTube channel. And at the time, YouTube gaming still felt very distant to me. It didn't feel like something that the average Joe could pick up and do. You know, Achievement Hunter and the Yogscast all worked from like centralized offices where they had all of this computer equipment and capture cards and so forth. And I thought you still had to do all of that in order to be able to play video games for people on the internet. Turns out not the case. It turns out you can have a half-decent PC and download some software and you're good to go. But I didn't leap into PC Minecraft straight away because I didn't have the resources to get myself a PC. I was, making a fairly decent income, but I had other things to spend my money on. So a co-worker of mine at Disney was no longer using his Xbox 360 because I think he'd bought an Xbox One at the time and maybe didn't have too much time to play games himself. But he gave it to me so I could catch up on a few games that I'd always wanted to play but never had an Xbox around. And one of them was Minecraft. So I decided to take my first steps into Minecraft and played it on the Xbox 360. Xbox 360, the kind of legacy console edition of Minecraft, the worlds are limited to 850 blocks-ish. By 850 blocks, it's a square world and you can't go any further. Like, it's surrounded by ocean and you can't like walk any further than that. Not even like a visible world border like you get on Java Edition. Like, it is just invisible wall, can't go any further than that. The first seed I generated was 80% water. So I didn't have a lot of terrain to work with. I actually have a map of it. I might even link it in the show notes because I made a Tumblr post about it at the time, just saying like, this is really cool. Like, I'm trying out Minecraft for the first time. And yeah, there were like 2 biomes basically. I spawned on an island in the bottom left-hand corner, and then there was a huge chunk of ocean, and then at the top of the map there was, I think, a spruce forest and maybe a bit of a snowy area. And then the rest of it was all water, apart from one mushroom island. And this was back in 2014. It was title update 14 for the console version. So villager trading had only just been added, and I didn't have a village in this map because it was entirely waterlogged. But this was effectively, if people are familiar with their Java version history, it's like the equivalent of Minecraft 1.3.1. So this is pre the Wither. This is pre horses. They basically only just added in stuff like ender chests and emeralds and stuff like that. I forget exactly what else had just been added, but there was a changelog when you logged into the game, and they're like, hey, you have all of this stuff now. But the PC version was always just way further ahead than that. But I was just kind of happy dipping into it and trying stuff out. I remember being so scared of the Nether originally that I built a portal on the Mushroom Island in this map because I'd heard that monsters didn't spawn on Mushroom Islands, and I was convinced that as soon as I erected this obsidian portal, everything was just going to come gushing out of this portal to attack me. And it's funny going back into those early days and thinking about like the naivety almost that you had as a player of Minecraft.
Oh yeah,
like this sort of world that has this untapped potential to it. And even if you've seen other people playing Minecraft, until you've played it yourself, you've not really had that experience. You've not kind of interacted with it in that exploratory way that everybody always does when they start Minecraft. And I always remember like seeing people on forums saying, I really wish I could just erase my memories so I could go back and experience Minecraft for the first time, because those early days are almost magical. It's really interesting. So anyway, I ended up setting a goal on this world to build a house at every corner of the map, because I'd started in the bottom left and I'd gone basically immediately north from that and found this continent. So I could go, okay, I can go top left, I can go top right. Bottom right is completely flooded. And then I read on the Minecraft wiki that you could remove water blocks using dirt and gravel. At the time, there were no sponges in the Xbox version, so you couldn't remove large quantities of water the way we're all so used to doing now. There were no sort of ocean monuments or anything. Ocean monuments were a distant fantasy at this point. So, yeah, I filled out. I made a glass dome. I made the traditional glass dome, and I filled the entire thing up with dirt, and then got it all out again with a shovel. And I was like, "This is incredible." I have literally gone from thinking, "No, there's no way I can build anything underwater," to just having my own underwater laboratory with like a checkerboard floor and a brewing stand in the corner and stuff like that. It was pretty incredible. So I I generated a couple of different worlds after that because I wanted to see all of the other biomes. The world I generated after that actually had a jungle, which was very exciting. And after that, I kind of started a museum project. The way I like to play Minecraft is a little bit more organized. It can get chaotic at first, but then I always like to compartmentalize all of my stuff. Like, this is where my stone brick goes. This is where my wool goes. This is where everything else. And I'd started a museum project. I wanted to just collect everything in Minecraft and kind of display it. And this was more just for my own benefit than anything else, because I wasn't playing online with anybody. I feel like I'd seen a lot of people engaged in multiplayer Minecraft, but none of my friends were really playing it at the time, and none of them were playing on the Xbox version if they were playing at all. So eventually I moved to the PC so I could play the Java edition and share stuff with other people. Specifically spurred on by my brother-in-law, Rob, who basically gave me an old PC and said, this will probably run Minecraft if you install Linux on it instead of Windows. And I started making my first videos on there, first off solo, did a Skyblock collab series with him, and then joined the Decidedly Vanilla server. This was back at the end of 2014, so that was almost 4 years ago.
Wow.
And the PC version was on version 1.8 by this point, which was way advanced compared to the console edition that I'd left behind. Ocean monuments were a thing, banners and rabbits, fences of different wood types had just been added, and this makes me feel ancient because that's just a feature I take for granted now, right? Like, originally you could only have oak doors and oak fences, and that was it. But then they just added, like, you can have acacia fences now, you can have dark oak fences, and it felt like everything had just kind of opened up. I was on a server with like a bunch of other players, and we were all making video content around it. And so it's snowballed from there for me. Like, I feel like every year since then, I've ended up investing more and more of my time and creative energy into Minecraft. But it all started with a borrowed Xbox 360, a version that was probably 5 or 6 versions behind the current version of Java that I started playing on. And yeah, that creative spirit has never really left, I think.
It's funny how it's like the snowball effect is real. Like, you get a little taste for the game, and you're like, okay, and then once you get a handle on things, it just really starts to expand exponentially.
Yeah,
from there,
and
because you start to discover the things that we talked about earlier, like just how deep the game goes, how much you can do, all that kind of stuff. There's definitely. Did you ever get a feeling of overwhelm, like when you got into the world and you're just like, okay, well, what do I do?
I can appreciate that feeling, and I think I've gotten that occasionally, especially with more developed worlds. But I was always really good at setting little goals for myself. Like, I'm going to make it over that hill and see what's on the other side. I'm going to go mining and find some diamonds today. I'm going to do this or that. And I was playing it kind of every afternoon when I came home from work. I'd play it for like a couple of hours, probably longer than I should have.
That's the case with most video games.
My wife learned to be very patient with me because I was just so kind of passionate about this game. And she's kind of, in a way, thankful for that now because it's turned into something that I'm actually making into a kind of almost a semi-professional thing, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And so, I don't think I ever got overwhelmed with it at first. I was just too keen to explore and do everything. And since then, I've learned to pace myself a little bit better. I think that's one of the important things, is to set manageable goals for yourself and pace yourself, especially in the early days.
Yeah, no, I agree. For me, when I first started, I had been looking for something to do, ironically non-digital. I was looking to do something that would get me away from the computer and away from the drawing table.
Amazing. The road to hell paved with good intentions.
Yeah, exactly, right? So I had Target is a large chain store in North America, and are they in Britain as well? No.
I don't think they are. We actually had a conversation the other day with somebody who was trying to work out what the UK equivalent of Target was, and I think there are several shops that were like that have now kind of become defunct. So yeah, but I'm familiar with Target. So go ahead.
So defunct is what happened. Target in Canada went out of business.
Oh right, okay.
similar to how Toys R Us in the US has gone out of business, but they're still in
Yeah.
Canada.
Yeah.
So essentially all their stuff was going on big sales. And so I went in one day because there happens to be a Target, or was a Target, at one of my main shopping malls.
Hmm.
So I was in there doing other stuff, and then I'll pop into Target and see if there's anything that I can get for the house, for the apartment, things that you just don't want to spend like real money on, but you're just like,
Yeah.
well, I do need like a new, I don't know, paper towel dispenser or something stupid in the kitchen that you don't want to spend real money on. But when it's 75% off and it's $6, you're like,
Yeah,
well,
when it's on clearance.
Now I feel like I can actually get this and not feel like a dork about it.
Hmm.
But the other thing that was on sale was Lego. And I'm not sure if you're familiar, but Lego never goes on sale because they don't have to, right?
Lego is always a seller. It just goes. So yeah.
So I picked up a small Lego set for $20, and it was probably 60% off. So I mean, I nabbed a pretty good deal on it, and it was only 400 or 500 pieces. But I built it. I don't think I streamed it, but I Instagram blogged it as I was going, taking like progress shots and stuff like that.
And Lego has a pretty big online community as well. So.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I had a blast. Like I was surprised as an adult how much I enjoyed it. Now, part of it was probably because it was a Star Wars droid ship. So I was like, all right. So
there you go.
But I was really impressed with the construction of it. So that quickly led to me looking for other Lego, and I ended up buying some other stuff secondhand in Kijiji. Got the shuttle Tidarium, which is like a 1,000 pieces. That I actually live streamed. I did that on Twitch, and I had such a great reaction to that I wanted to keep going. But then I was complaining to my friend Steven that I've got this great new hobby, but boy, is it expensive.
Yeah. Especially if you're seeking out like Star Wars Lego sets specifically. Those can get off the charts.
Well, anything that's worth your time. Like, I don't want to go buy a kit and put it together in 2 hours and then be done. So when I bought the 1,000-piece Tidarium, like that took me 6 or 8 hours, 4 streams, give or take, of me putting this together and relaxing. It was several weekends of doing this.
Yeah.
And so Steven, who plays Minecraft with his boys, who are now, I think they're like 12 and 14 or 11 and 13 or something like that. But at the time, this was a year and a half ago. So they were a little bit younger. He suggested, well, you should try Minecraft. It's basically like digital Lego,
yes,
but it's cheaper because it's $30 and that's it. Like you spend the one time, because it's 35 Canadian, I think, for the Minecraft Java version in Canada. So I was like, well, I kind of turned my nose at it because like I've been aware of Minecraft, but I had always kind of looked, ironically, down my nose at it. I'm an artist, and I looked at it like, that doesn't look much better than video games when I was a kid 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So why would I be interested in that?
The visual style of Minecraft is one of the things that I think puts players off. The fact that it's all kind of pixelated, and they're like, surely modern games should look way better than this.
Exactly, and that's where I was kind of coming from, because I as a gamer for a short history, I've been mostly a Blizzard gamer. So World of Warcraft was probably like the biggest time investment that I had over the last like 10 years in terms of the games that I was playing. So that kind of immersive, not necessarily open world, but real close, exploration and just what's around every bend and all that kind of stuff. I like that kind of thing. And I often played Warcraft like a single player game, not a multiplayer game. So, but because I had Steven to play with, and he offered to show me the ropes because it was cheap, I thought, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and check this out. So I played one afternoon with Steven. I downloaded the game. This was on an old MacBook Pro. So it played it well enough. It wasn't fantastic. So it didn't look very good.
Yeah.
But I was able to kind of make it do what I wanted. But Steven showed me the ropes one afternoon, and I just remember how small I felt the world was. Not that it was small, but like you basically see like the hill behind you, the tree in front of you, a couple of other stuff, and you're just like, okay, so what do I do? And because you're basically just there. And my complaint to Steven about the game was that I'm glad that you're here, because if you weren't here, there was nothing in the game to tell me what to do next.
Yeah.
Right? There's no NPC, there's no character, there's no story.
No tutorial stuff popping up or anything.
Exactly. It took me a while to get past that, because in World of Warcraft, like the first person you talk to is like, hey, stranger, you should go down the road and talk to this person at the end, or
you've always got
whatever.
Quest givers leading you forward the whole time.
Exactly. And that ends up with like, oh, you're going to need better boots and better pants and better swords. And like, so you very quickly understand what your immediate goals are. And I didn't have those. So I mean, I enjoyed playing with Steven that afternoon. It was actually kind of a fun, it felt like playing hooky because I work from home and I had taken the afternoon off to kind of hang out with Steven. He was home from work with a headache. So we were playing and just kind of chilling out for the afternoon. It was not something you get to do as an adult often on like a Wednesday afternoon sort of thing. It was also winter in Canada. It was March, just to kind of give people context. It was March of 2017. So I've not been playing Minecraft for very long at all. It was 1.11 at some point in my early days of Minecraft. 1.12 came.
Yeah,
I don't exactly remember the date, but it was shortly after I started. Because I definitely used concrete in my first world at some point.
And that's really funny to me, even as somebody who came into Minecraft technically as late as I did. It's still really cool knowing that there are people who've popped in and concrete is already available to them. They haven't yearned for concrete for several years the way the rest of us did, looking at the stained clay palette going, this is also drab. And,
I'm a noob. Like I'm absolutely aware that in the grand scheme of things, I'm a new player. So I played on this world with Steven, and what he did was he decided, well, if you like it for this afternoon, then what I'll do is I'll start. We won't go any further. We'll just I'll start my free realm with Mojang.
Yeah,
because he was going to get time. Yeah, he was going to get time out of it for not just he and I, but he was also going to be able to play with his boys on it. So that was something that they've wanted to do for quite some time. So he got some family time out of it, and I get to play on it. Well, I got in there, and of course, working from home, like, I mean, I had work to do, but at the end of my day, it was very easy for me to kind of roll into Minecraft and try to do some stuff and learn a few things. So I was kind of at a loss. Like I built a really ugly house at start, and I had a farm, and you just kind of do these little things, and I was really kind of not necessarily frustrated, but just kind of lost as to what to do next. And then I went for a walk through this little valley that we had, and I saw a couple of really cool mountain formations. And I thought to myself, man, that kind of looks like the mountain from Snake Mountain from He-Man when I was a kid.
Yes, I remember you talking about this actually.
Yeah. So then my brain went, oh man, I'm an artist. Like if I took rather than just kind of like trying to go block for block in Minecraft, if I took a minute, went into Photoshop, drew out some decent plans and realized just exactly what I would need to do to make it look like a snake at the scale that I want, etc. I could probably make Snake Mountain.
Yeah.
And I liked the design in Photoshop so much that I decided that I was going to tackle this in game. And therein lied I don't know what to do. It solved the problem immediately, because by starting a big project or deciding I'm going to do something really big, like I went from making like a 5x5 house to a gargantuan build.
To Snake Mountain. Yeah.
Yeah. But it solved a huge amount of what do I do next issues for me, because I didn't have the blocks that I wanted. I didn't have the number of blocks that I wanted. I didn't have the resources or the tools or anything like that. So right away you're like, okay, well, Snake Mountain is now a goal that's number 10 on the list. The first goal on the list is get yourself geared up, like get some mining going, get some this going, get organized, get a storage system and stuff like that, or at least an organized room of chests, because at that point I don't think I had much going on. Get a safe place to live that's near Snake Mountain, so that you don't have to deal with mobs and stuff.
You don't have a commute to Snake Mountain.
Exactly. So that and I did for a while. I was like, long. Why don't I just build a house over here? And so that snowballed into a bunch of different things. And after a while you start to realize, okay, now I've got stairs and slabs and bricks. And so you start to realize, okay, I can build stuff out of other things. And I felt I didn't want to make a castle, because I kind of felt like that's what everybody did from my just, pop culture views of Minecraft. Like everybody made castles.
I resisted castles for the longest time as well. I still don't think I've actually made a proper castle aside from my one chunk build. I don't think I've ever built a survival castle, because Minecraft lends itself so easily to that medieval block palette. Everything is like cobblestone and wood. These are the materials that you can get so easily. And I always felt that just felt too obvious. Like you say, everybody and their mum is building a castle in Minecraft. You want to do something different. Which is why I think Snake Mountain is such a great thing to start with. You're just I can do this. I can reconstruct this like childhood cartoon memory kind of thing. But
ultimately I ended up with a small castle tower like directly across from Snake Mountain, and it was just because Snake Mountain was not a base, like it was a sculpture.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that had an inside at that point. So I ended up making this tower, and just because like I wanted stuff from the Nether, like I different things, and the artist in me, I like fantasy art a lot. Minecraft doesn't lend itself super well to sci-fi, so at least not when you're a new player. So I built this tower. I put my Nether portal on the top, so it kind of looked like this crazy, altar thing. And I had what I started doing. I got very into the coordinate system in Minecraft, and I started putting everything on key lines. So Snake Mountain lined up specifically on the same center coordinate that my tower did.
Mm-hmm.
So when you were in my tower and you were looking at the enchanting book, out the window, you were looking straight across the valley at Snake Mountain.
Yeah.
So it was framed by the window and everything. So like the artist in me kind of took over and a little bit obsessive about getting everything lined up exactly right and stuff like that. But eventually, I kind of, I don't want to say surpassed, but I definitely put in a lot more time than Steven did on the world, and I started getting into taking breaks from Snake Mountain and designing the Nether hub, and because I needed to go and get different things. And unfortunately I learned very quickly that the seed that I was in did not really offer much in terms of biomes and content and stuff like that. It was a fun build in that the Snake Mountain specifically, but ultimately I ended up abandoning the world because it hurt how far you had to go to find anything.
Yeah.
And on like thousands and thousands of blocks in the Nether to just get to. I never found a jungle biome. Like it just, I only ever found swamps and dark forests. Like that was it.
Yeah. There's always one or two biomes that are just really elusive.
Yeah.
And you need mapping tools to even find. Usually a mesa. Like mesas and jungles are usually the two that are rarest to spawn in a world. So you really have to get lucky if you're finding them just on foot.
Yeah. So that was my kind of initial experience of enjoying it, investing a lot of time into it, and then going like, well, I never did really finish Snake Mountain. The sculpture itself was finished, the snake head, but then I started to get a little bit more complicated and try to wrap it around down into the mountain, and I wanted to add some features and stuff like that. And Steven's free month was up. So what he did was he downloaded the world and sent it to me. And I continued to single player play that for quite some time afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
And I really enjoyed that experience, but I did miss the idea of playing with people. And that led me into starting the Citadel, which was my free month with a Mojang Realm.
Yeah.
And so I did that. And the idea behind that was that I could play with some people that wanted to try the game, that were part of the Citadel Cafe podcast community, and bring in some friends and do it that way. So I started fresh. So I got to I still have the Snake Mountain, but I started a new seed, new world. And what we did was I think it was Mine Atlas. I started to really kind of learn a lot about Minecraft and realize that there was a lot of online tools. And I got past the block of the game has to tell me what to do, and got into the whole, like, I can't figure this out. The wiki will tell me, or YouTube will tell me, or like, just kind of say like, look, you're this late to the game. You just, there's so many resources online. You might as well just take advantage. It's going to save you a lot of headaches.
I've got to say, shout out to the Minecraft wiki, because like I remember reading the wiki on the bus to and from work just to try and find out more information about Minecraft when I first started playing it, because there is so much to learn, and it feels like the kind of thing that right now the game does have more of a tutorial process in it. Like, it tells you when you spawn in, press E to open your inventory, and then it's got a thing that kind of pops up, and now that it has the recipe book, it's so much easier. But the Minecraft wiki is just invaluable when you start out. It's one of those things. I hate having wikis or game guides open while I'm playing stuff, because so often it takes you out of the experience. And I'm like that with modded Minecraft now. I really prefer to have an in-game guide to something if I'm going to be muddling through it, because otherwise I'm always just like distracting my attention, turning right to look at a wiki. But the Minecraft wiki is just indispensable as far as a resource for early game goes, because the game itself will show you this stuff, but there's so much extra information about how everything works that the game isn't going to natively tell you, like mob spawning mechanics, for example.
Right.
And the fact that you can clear out water just by filling in all of the water blocks with dirt and then removing them again. There's stuff that there are guides for new players on there that are really kind of comprehensive and will take you through everything. Even if you don't like the experience of just being dropped into a world and having nothing to do, the wiki's got it, but the wiki has so much information on everything else that the game isn't going to tell you, because it would be an entire lore book or something. A reference guide in Minecraft would seem out of place.
Yeah, no, I agree. So what we did with the Citadel is that we used Mine Atlas, and I found a seed, and I won't say exactly what I typed in, but I typed in my home address. Just for giggles, just to kind of see, all like no spaces, just kind of typed in my home address, and that particular seed happened to have every biome in the game within 1,000 blocks.
Nice. That's
like it just like it was it was a fun little happy accident, and I wish to say maybe not within 1,000, but certainly within say like a 5 or 1,000 block trek in the Nether. So it was close enough that felt like you had to work for it, but not so far away that it was like, oh gosh, like this is a pain.
Yeah, I'll tell you the flip side of that story. The world I mentioned earlier on Xbox, the one that had like 80% water, it was my date of birth. And I was like,
nice.
I was like, this has betrayed me. Like my birth world is 80% water, and it's not going to give me the full experience of all. I
never thought about trying that. I should punch that into mine now.
I feel like if I entered it into the Java edition, it would come out with something different. But then Java worlds are virtually infinite, and the Xbox one was only 800 blocks wide.
Right.
So
yeah. So that's what we did with the Citadel. So I had stuff going on, and your talk about tutorials reminded me of something that I left out of my story by accident, and that is during my process of working on the Eternia world, the Snake Mountain world. That's what I called the world save. I was watching Paul Soares Jr. on YouTube.
How to survive and thrive.
How to survive and thrive. So that was the real eye-opener and real education forum for me for Minecraft. And that it just, you would watch one episode where he would do some very, very basic stuff with a minecart or with, farming or something like that. And you're just like, oh, so that's how you do it. And you would also leave that episode going like, I really want to try that. And so I would find excuses to put minecarts in the Nether, or just so I could travel to the swamp and like hit go to swamp and then go get a cup of coffee and, and come back and do stuff like that. So I found that series really kind of opened my eyes quickly, more so than reading the wiki, but just having someone say like, look, here's the basics, here's some stuff that we can do. And he was also pretty entertaining and fun and funny. So I think a lot of people might have found a YouTuber or gone that route these days to educate themselves with Minecraft. I mean, you yourself, you've got a series right now that's doing something very similar in terms of like a guide for new players.
Inspired in no small part by Paul Soares Jr., although I'm trying desperately not to rip him off. I was aware of How to Survive and Thrive, and I know that it's been like a very helpful series for a lot of people, but I've never watched it myself because I'm like, if I do, I feel like I'm going to subconsciously just steal all of this guy's ideas, and I don't want to do that to myself. And it is dated, and so I'm trying to update it with my Minecraft Survival Guide series for 1.13.
And that's the thing is that even when I was watching it a year and a half ago, I still had to mentally like, okay, so he's on like 1.3 or 4 or something. And something in my head like, well, why wouldn't you use just this thing? And then a quick Google search is like, oh, because that thing didn't exist until 1.8
observer blocks
or 1.9.
don't exist yet. And
exactly.
Redstone components.
So it was good because anything he was doing in Redstone was something that I would be just like, well, that's really basic. Like I can handle that. That's not super complex, because he didn't have complex parts. He just had the, activator rails or powered rails and redstone torches and dust, and that's kind of buttons. It really wasn't much going on. So I took a lot from that series, and the rest I guess is really just time in the game. I'm pretty sure actually that my friend Jonathan, who plays on the Citadel now, introduced me to Paul Soares Jr. I can't for the life of me remember, because I've consumed so much Hermitcraft content. I don't remember how I get into it. I'm assuming probably me searching for redstone stuff and finding a mumbo jumbo
finding mumbo
video. and then going to Hermitcraft from there. But at the time, when I first started watching Mumbo, he was only on his first season of Hermitcraft. So it wasn't like a huge thing
Yeah.
in terms of his video content. So I don't really know how I get into it. I know eventually I started watching Mumbo's Hermitcraft stuff, and that's where that's where my, I guess, second level of education came, and really kind of me pushing, to do the builds that I do now on the Citadel. It's because of stuff that you see in Hermitcraft.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I kind of, I guess, took my phase 2.
Yeah, the second wave of your Minecraft experience. Yeah, I kind of found it interesting graduating from Yogscast and Achievement Hunter, who, while obviously they like Minecraft, are playing the game specifically to be entertaining. They're not playing the game to explore its mechanics and that kind of thing. And even Yogscast with their modded series, that half the time they end up spawning stuff in creative because they just want it to go faster, because like they either have like a plot that they're working on, or like they know the game kind of like the back of their hand, so they know exactly what they're going to do next, and they don't really explain any of it. They don't kind of take the time to go, well, now I'm going to go to the Beneath because I can grab some more resources there, but there's this thing called the Grue that you need to light it up. They just go there and then get scared by this thing and then run away. But now, yeah, like you, I found when I started playing on Decidedly Vanilla, I found out that there was this side of the YouTube content creating community that was just rejoicing in the game itself in a way, and just like making videos to sort of show off their builds, to demonstrate what they knew about the game, and playing survival for survival instead of playing survival to create something bigger than that, to create something that was entertaining as a story, because they didn't think the game itself was entertaining enough on its own. It really is entertaining enough on its own. You can watch people just explore their own creativity in Minecraft, but keep Minecraft as the focus of those videos. And I think that's what Hermitcraft and other kind of YouTube survival multiplayer servers really do, is keep Minecraft at the forefront. And obviously their personalities and stuff can grow, and they can have kind of shenanigans back and forth on the server, but the series itself is really about life in Minecraft rather than let's make Minecraft into something entertaining.
Yeah, because and not to say that those are bad. They're just not necessarily my flavor. The stuff that kind of twists it. It's the same thing when I'm listening to podcasts. Like I tend to listen to podcasts that are more laid back, kind of off the cuff, live to hard drive, as opposed to things that are like really overly produced. Those feel like a terrestrial radio show, and I'm just like, well, if I wanted that, I would just listen to the radio or watch TV or something.
Yeah, you're like, I'm not here for radio drama. That's...
Precisely.
Yeah,
precisely. Yeah, no, I know what you mean about the personalities. Like I find sometimes too, like even people that are not necessarily the most entertaining people are entertaining Minecrafters, because they've got the game to spin off of, and just the random stuff, like you walk by it, there's a cow in a boat, and like that alone just sparks
something that gives you a giggle, like that,
some meme, and now it's like boat cow. And well, for example, Spy Chickens from Paul Soares Jr. Like I even said that one time on a stream, and I had a couple people laugh like, nice reference. I remember those. It's stuff like that kind of just sticks with you, and you take that kind of stuff out of the game.
For sure. So before we wrap up this discussion and wrap up the podcast, I wanted to kind of ask something that we haven't really prepared in the show notes here, so this might be a little bit more off the cuff, just a short thing. The topic being, how did we get into Minecraft? I wanted to ask you, what keeps you in Minecraft? What keeps you playing right now?
I've
kind of put you on the spot here, Joel. So
no,
I'm sorry about that.
Starting a Let's Play series on YouTube is definitely something that keeps me into it. I spend a lot of time playing Minecraft. I mean, let's open up here. I'm single. I work from home. So I have very little responsibilities outside of my immediate workload and stuff like that. So no kids, no dog, no significant other. But I really enjoy the community. Like I really enjoy playing with Alistair and Mattcast and the people on the Citadel. It's not a Let's Play server. Like everybody's not making videos. Alistair will stream from time to time, but mostly I'm the only one that's creating content out of it. But I'm really enjoying. I as an artist and as a creator, I've found when I get frustrated with my own work, which actually I have been over the last little while, Minecraft allows me to create with a predetermined palette, a predetermined set of rules and structure and puzzle solving.
Yeah.
So it's like, yes, I want to create this really cool wall / castle, even though I say if we poo-pooed castles earlier, but I have kind of like a futuristic fantasy build that I want to do, inspired by some art that I saw on artstation.com. And I'm now immediately thinking like, oh man, this is going to be really cool. One, figuring out how to do it in Minecraft. But then also the trepidation is like, wow, this is a ginormous thing. Like this is going to take me a long time. Like, do I really want to dive in and do it? And in part, returning and doing that kind of stuff for me is the reason why I keep playing. It's the problem solving, or the starting something big enough where it's like, you can't complete it in one session. So my issue then becomes I have to pace myself, as you mentioned earlier, and not play all day Saturday and try to get this thing done. It's like, well, if you muscle through this thing, then you're going to be back to square one again, and you're not going to have anything to do. So pace yourself and say you're going to make a big swamp base, but just hack at it a couple hours at a time, and just kind of like let that build kind of nurture your creativity and not try to go straight through it. But yeah, it's the creative aspect of it and the problem solving aspect of it. We mentioned earlier in the show at the top about data packs and stuff like that. I'm very new to those, but I spent a few hours getting to learn about resource packs. So I've actually created a couple of my own resource packs, modded a couple of existing resource packs. Nothing crazy, nothing too far outside of vanilla, just little tweaks that I wanted to do for the pure, I guess, checkbox of I can do it, or to learn how to do it. But also the creative person in me wanted something new to try outside of Minecraft. So learning how to do pixel art. For example, I've reskinned all my diamond tools. They're not a weird blue. They're actually, they look kind of more diamondy. And I did that on my own. Like I learned how it was done, and I figured out what was needed, and I went into Photoshop and did it. It didn't take that long, but it was a fun, hour that I spent retexturing the pick and the axe and the sword and stuff like that. I haven't done the armor yet. Stuff like that. I'm now in, like, I want to call it my phase 3 of my Minecraft education, where I'm now kind of getting under the hood. And instead of redstone problem solving and build problem solving, I am now into under the hood, like JavaScript resource data pack problem solving,
and like quality of life problem solving at this point.
Yes, yeah, stuff like that. Well, for example, one player sleep, like the different things that on a server do come in handy. What I really want to do, one of the data packs that we downloaded is the gem and the mob head data pack that is currently being used on Hermitcraft. For those that aren't familiar, it just puts an extra item in the game that you get in treasure chests, like a ruby or a sapphire. They're just textured mob heads that look like gems. What I want to figure out how to do, I don't know if it's even possible, but I want to be able to take that gem that you find and actually give it a purpose and say, okay, well, if you find this gem and you craft it or combine it on a crafting table with a diamond sword, you will get the same stats. It'll be the same item, but it's going to be able to change the texture of that sword into a ruby sword or an emerald sword. And as an artist, I'm going to go ahead and create a bunch of different really cool fantasy looking swords. And so the only way on our server to get these items is going to be, first you have to find the right gem, and you have to combine it with the sword. So it's going to be something that you just can't rename it on an anvil and get it. Like, you actually have to collect the item in the game. I don't know if it's possible with a custom item. I'm going to try, but I'm thinking the combination of data packs might make it possible. So I'm looking forward to learning how to do that. That's kind of my current, what keeps me playing is providing that kind of cool experience for people on the server I'm playing with, so that they can enjoy it too.
Yeah, so you're creating it not just for yourself, you're also creating it with like a group of people in mind. If not just an audience, then also like a a community. And I think that's the thing that keeps me playing Minecraft, if anything, is the community, and both the community that I've forged around my own YouTube endeavors, but also the community online of just Minecraft players in general. Because every time I look at the Minecraft subreddit, there's always something new on there that I haven't thought of. There's always a build there that I think is fantastic. The top page of Minecraft subreddit just keeps churning out these new ideas and new concepts and stuff. And it really has this sense that the game is still alive. Everybody wants to declare Minecraft dead at a certain point because for whatever reason they've moved on to another game like Fortnite or whatever, And Minecraft, I don't think is going to die, or if it does, it's going to be because it takes on a completely different form in future. It's going to. I think Minecraft as a kind of platform, as a template for all of the stuff that you can do, all of your creativity and stuff, is such a. It almost just feels like such an original thing, and it's like they've invented paint in a way.
Yeah.
Like the actual substance of paint. It's like it's a way to express yourself in a virtual world. It's so easy to understand, but almost kind of difficult to master in a way. And it's a constant challenge, and you're always setting goals for yourself, like you with the data packs thing. But with me, it's so often it's just stuff in game. It's just builds. It's expressing myself, and then it's sharing those expressions with people. And I do feel like Minecraft is a game that I would have played anyway if I hadn't been able to share things with people, because I was doing it already on Xbox. But just the ability to step into this community at any time and tell people, look, here's what I've done. And for them to understand that intrinsically, just be like, oh, he's made that in Minecraft and it looks awesome. That's the feeling I keep coming back to. That's always the stuff that drives me to create new content is just showing people something they haven't seen before. And that's always a challenge. That's always something that is a little bit, it's something I have to keep reaching further and further in order to find something that's still impressive. Like you have to build bigger and bigger. There's a kind of feeling of escalation in it. But
I agree.
That's what I feel about the rest of the YouTube community in general. Like we were using Hermitcraft as an example. Again, it always feels like they're pushing the limits of the game further and further each time. And that's the thing that keeps me in it. That keeps me fascinated.
Yeah, no, for me, the moving forward with builds and things like that, I've now got some personal goals, just different things I want to try, different things I want to move away from, and I think that just goes a long way. And as you said, not to repeat your point, but the community at large is very accessible.
Absolutely, it really is, and it's something that I'd encourage anybody listening to this podcast who hasn't checked out various corners of the Minecraft community. If you're kind of new to Minecraft and you've stumbled on this, definitely go and find a community, whether it's the community on the Reddit or if it's the community on a forum somewhere, or if it's just in your local community. Because we've talked a little bit about that today. You had your friends to play with. I had the folks on Decidedly Vanilla. It's always worth sharing your experience of Minecraft with other people. And that's probably going to be it for this episode, but you'll find more information about the show. The links to some of the stuff we talked about today will all be on thespawnchunks.com, and the music for the show was composed by me and is probably still subject to change. You can share your Minecraft experience with us, even, because we are available on email. You can get to us at thespawnchunks@gmail.com. You can find us by name on Twitter and Instagram.
One of the best ways that you can support the show is actually on Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/thespawnchunks to join the community. That's part of the Discord that we've got going on as well, that Johnny mentioned at the top of the show. And if you are searching for the show on your favorite podcatcher and can't find it, there's a good reason for that. And that is because the iTunes submission page for podcasts is down and has been down for the better part of a week. I have a ticket with Apple. We've received a couple of emails actually from Apple in the last 48 hours, both of which saying like, hey, we're aware, please be patient, so sorry, essentially. So they're working on the issue. Your podcatcher app of choice is more than likely searching the iTunes database for new podcasts. So you can still add your podcast to your favorite app. If you go to thespawnchunks.com, there's an RSS link at the bottom of the page. Just copy that link and then paste it into your podcatcher app. Johnny made a video last week, and it actually shows you on the video how to do that.
It is so easy. It's
works like a charm.
2 clicks basically, and you're there. So give that a try. So my name is Pixlriffs, and you can find most of what I do at youtube.com/Pixlriffs, where I've got the Minecraft Survival Guide series for beginners, if you guys are interested in figuring out how to start out in this crazy Minecraft world. And I also have a multiplayer Let's Play called Decidedly Vanilla, which is also good if you're a beginner, because you can see precisely what's possible. I'm also the voice for the unofficial Hermitcraft recap, Hermitcraft being a server we have talked about several times in today's podcast, but you can find the Hermitcraft recap through a quick YouTube search, and it will keep you up to date on what's going on basically the biggest YouTube multiplayer server. I also stream 3 days a week on Twitch, where these days I'm mostly working on larger Minecraft projects for my YouTube series, including the warehouse build I mentioned earlier, but we occasionally dabble in other games from time to time. My wife and I played a bit of Stardew Valley the other day because the multiplayer update is out for that. Really love that game. It's super cute. But aside from that, I'm at Pixlriffs on both Twitter and Instagram. And Joel, where can people find you?
Well, you can find everything that I am up to online at joelduggan.com. That's also where I have my illustration and design portfolio. I'm open for commissions and graphic work. So if you are interested in that kind of stuff, just drop me a line via the website and we can talk about that. If you like this podcast, you may also like The Citadel Cafe. It's a show where myself and some friends talk about the geeky stuff that we are into. My friend Lou Page was on the show earlier this week, and we talked about Dead Cells, a pixel-based rogue game.
Been meaning to check that out. It looks
cool. It looks really cool. It's not necessarily my flavor, but visually it's very, very awesome looking. And then on Comics Coast to Coast, my other podcast, I interview comic creators, illustrators, and animators because, well, I am one. So it makes a lot of sense. You can follow me on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram. All of it is just my name. Just pick your poison. And that's it. You can find me there.
Thanks for visiting the Spawn Chunks. The world outside is infinite, but so is the approaching horde of zombies.